When I was but a child, I had Age of Empires, and I would build one of every building type. I had to have one before I won, and each one would make one unit at a time. And I wanted to get every upgrade I could, so I'd have like one of a unit and have bought like four upgrades for them, but they'd only be affecting one unit. And the idea of creating two of a single type of building seemed absurd to me. Why would I do that? I have one building, it can very slowly produce as many units as I want. If I had two buildings, that would be a waste of resources. I liked collecting resources as well. And then my opponents would come. This was just playing against the computer, but my opponents would come and they'd have way more units than me, and that was really unfair, so we have to start over. Suffice it to say, this was a terrible way to play a real time strategy game. In general, you want to create a lot of production buildings so you can make a lot more units than your opposition are making, or than you would be making if you just had one building producing units at a time. So what we're going to do today is I'm not particularly good at Starcraft 2. I'm very amused. Right before recording this video, I beat someone who had over 200 actions per minute, with me having a measly 60 actions per minute, and I absolutely crushed them. It was great. So this is to say, I haven't played much on the ranked ladder. I'm not yet ranked. You have to play 5 games to get ranked. I'm 3 games in, and the first one crashed, so I lost. But I won the other two. We'll see. We'll see what I'm ranked. But I've really been enjoying playing some StarCraft just versus the AI and just practicing and having fun doing that. And I think I'm not bad. I think based on the ratings of the people I beat, I think I'm going to be ranked as, a reasonable player. And I want to sort of show what I did to get there in a way that I think is pretty easy to follow, and I didn't have to spend a ton of time doing it or anything. I played a tiny bit 10 years ago or 8 years ago or something, then a tiny bit 4 or 5 years ago, and now picking it up again now, put in a small amount of work and having a lot of fun doing it. And would love if people wanted to play like 2v2s with me or anything like that. If anyone thinks this looks fun and interesting and wants to get into it, it would be really nice to play with other people, hence the name of this video. That said, today we're going to focus on the very basics. This was when a friend bullied me into it, and he sent this is way back like 8 years ago, and he sent me a video of a guy doing this drill that he said was really good practice, and I did it a bunch, and I think it is really good practice, and I also think it's fun to do. This game is fun if you like that chaotic feeling of trying to manage too many things at once. And this, okay, calling it a drill makes it sound not fun. I think it's fun. This drill really focuses on the core narrow elements, and we're just going to try to master those. And then things start to get more complex, but we start by making sure we have our core macro economic control mechanics really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to play against the very easy bot just so it doesn't interrupt us. But you can use the strategy we're going to do here to beat all non-cheating levels of the bot, though it won't reliably beat the elite bot. The elite bot sometimes does stuff, but it should be able to beat the very hard bot pretty consistently. We're going to be playing Terran. There's ways to do this on other builds, but they're not quite as simple. So again, here's the 7 basic difficulty levels. You can push this strategy pretty far, but we're going to have the opponent not interfere with us, so we're going to tell them to do the least interfering things. I'm not going to focus too much on the opening. And if I make future videos, which I intend to, because I want to sort of show the things I've studied and practiced, I think they're fun. And again, if anyone wants to follow in or, step in my footsteps and then jump way ahead of where I am, which I think would be very doable, this would be something fun to do. I'm probably going to end up doing 60, 70 actions per minute while playing. If you're starting out, you're probably going to be in like the 20, 30 range if you're used to video games but not used to this one or real-time strategy games. So if your actions per minute the first time you play is like 20, that's going to go up naturally. That's completely normal. Uh, it's not a big deal. I'm going to try to make it clear what I'm doing and not, go too fast, but it's going to be hard for me not to move at a relatively normal pace. So that said, we're going to start game. And, or I should say what our goal is. We're going to be trying to max out units off 2 bases. Each base can gather resources. The more bases you have, the more resources you will gather. We're going to make enough workers to saturate 2 bases. Having about 16 workers at each base, maybe slightly more, is going to be the right amount per base. So we're going to build, say, 32 to 36 workers, somewhere in that range. And we're going to build supply depots because you can only build so many units. Just like Age of Empires, you need houses. Here is a Terran, you need supply depots to up the number that's available. We're going to have to be building those at a steady rate. And then the main thing we're going to do is just be building Marines. Marines are the most basic unit, but they can hit ground, they can hit air, so they can kind of do it all. And we're going to make as many of them as we can until we hit 200 units, the max possible. And we're going to try to max out in under 9 minutes. If I do it really well, we'll be around 8.5. If I do it not so well, we'll be around 9 minutes. If you're starting out and can do it in like under 12, you're doing great. And if you can get that under 11 and then under 10 and then down to 9 or less, that's phenomenal. So, okay, as I said, not going to focus on talking about the opening too much because it is going to be a little more specific and we're going to talk about that later. But the basic idea is we're going to put down a supply depot early because at the start of the game you're almost capped. That opens up building a barracks, which will be our unit production building. Then we're going to get down a second command center and orbital command, which is an upgrade to our main base that we'll be talking about throughout because it is incredible. And then we're just going to be building supply depots, barracks, and Marines and SCVs. SCVs are our workers. And that's going to be it. But we're going to do it efficiently. We're going to do it well. We're going to try to show the gameplay loop. So we're going to start by making an SCV. I'm going to hotkey the command center. We're not going to worry about building placement in this first video or like optimizing little things. You can queue up workers, so I can queue up them being made. The more I queue up, they cost the resources when you queue them up. So if I want, I'm going to pull a worker, and we're going to press B and S to build a supply depot when we have 100, and then I'm going to press Shift and back to the resource patch, so he goes back when he's done. And we're going to queue up another worker. We don't want to queue too many because it will use the resources now, and we could use those resources before. But if you want to queue 2 or 3 guys at a time, that's completely fine. The goal is eventually to get it lower. Once the supply depot completes, this guy will build a barracks, and then I'll send him back. We're going to make sure we're producing units. I'm going to hotkey the barracks to the 2 key and say go to the ramp when your unit is made. You can tell a building when it produces a unit where to send that unit. And we can also lower our supply depot, which can be used to build walls, but also lower the walls if we need to get out. We can queue 3 here. At around 19 workers finishing, our barracks will finish, and at that point we can upgrade to orbital command, which gives us 3 abilities on our base. It will have an energy bar and be able to use abilities, and those abilities are great. We can now press between 1 and 2 to check our command center's production and our barracks. We're going to put all our barracks on 2, all our command centers on 1. You press Shift and then the number you want to add to a command center. And we're going to start building Marines. We're going to send out a worker to go build our second base. I could have sent this out earlier. Not optimized at all. We're going to queue up another Marine, and we're going to make another supply depot. Because we're getting close to that cap. We're at 20 out of 23. We're going to make sure I have 2 Marines building at all times. I notice we're at 150 minerals. We're going to build another barracks, and then go back to work. And we're going to queue them to go here. Now we can drop a mule. We've upgraded our main base. It can now drop mules. Mules are incredibly good at resource gathering, and they're going to be the main use we have for... I should also add this to the 1 key, because that's going to be our second command center. They're going to be the main use we have for the energy on our base. We definitely have enough minerals for a 3rd barracks. Let's build a 3rd barracks, and we may as well build another supply depot. Good to be constantly building them. And so our main thing, which I'm not quite at because we don't have our next supply up, so I'll wait a sec on it. But I notice we have 150 minerals, so we're going to build another barracks. We're going to be aiming, we can support about 6 per base, so we're going to be aiming for about 12 barracks total. We're up to 4. We can queue up units, get started on our next barracks. Let's make a new supply depot, constantly be making them. And now our second command center is almost finished. So we're going to send a bunch of workers over so they both have units. We're going to start upgrading to orbital command on the second one. We're going to call down a mule. Probably should have called it down to the other base. We're going to make sure we're building units at all our barracks. And yeah, we look good. So here's the order of play. We check our bases. We make sure they're producing. I did that. I pressed 1. Now we press 2. We make sure our barracks are producing. Now we think, do we need more supply? No. Do we have 150 minerals? Yes. So we're going to add another barracks. Make sure to hotkey it and go back to 1. Are we producing units? Let's make sure we're producing units. We're going to be saturated here shortly, but not at the other base, so let's send 2 more over here. And did we call down our mules? Then we go press the next key, check our barracks, make sure we're producing from there. 2 at a time, I think, is a good amount. Then we think, do we need a supply depot? Sure, we'll probably need one soon. And can we afford a barracks? Yeah, we can do that. And make sure to add the barracks to the hotkey. At this point, we can go back to 1. Make sure we're producing. At some point soon, we're going to stop producing from our places because we'll be fully saturated. This is probably the last I'll do. Make sure our barracks are producing. We can queue up 2. Do we need more supply depots? Yeah, we're starting to build units faster. So let's build 2 supply depots at once. And do we have enough for a barracks? Yes, we do. Not only do we have enough for 1, but we can build a few more. So I'm going to drop down a few more barracks and go back to 1. We don't need to make more workers at this point. We have enough, but make sure to call down our mule. Check the barracks, make sure they're producing. Add these to the hotkey, the new barracks. Make sure they're all on the hotkey. Make sure that's all producing. Do we need more supply? We probably will in the near future. We're starting to make units really quickly. So let's do that. And can we drop down more barracks? Yes, we can. We can make 2 more pretty easily. So I'm going to do that. And make sure they go back to mining after. Back to our thing. Can we drop mules? Yes, we can. Can we make units from our barracks? Yes, we can. Let's add new barracks to the hotkey. We're getting attacked, so we can easily, we'll just bring our units to here to make sure we're blocking entrance. Do we have mules? No. Can we produce more units? Yes. We have 11 barracks. I'm going to make 1 more. And then I'm going to make sure we have enough supply depots. We can build even more. Let's drop 3 this time. Make sure they go back after. Let's drop a mule. Let's drop it at the second base. The second base has more minerals left, so it gets less in the way of our other mining. Make sure we're producing from the barracks. Check if we have mules. We don't. Purple in the bottom right. Make sure we're producing. Do we have enough barracks? We have 11 and a 12th being built. And how about supply depots? Let's keep building them. They're really important. We're going to need a lot. Back to barracks, make sure they're all producing. See if we have a mule, call down the mule. Barracks. We can support about 12 barracks, so that's what we're getting to. We've built our 12th. And at this point, we're just building supply depots and building marines until we max out. And I think this cycle of managing stuff is really both pleasant to do, but also like you really do have to keep track of things. Got to check, do we have mules? We got to check, are we producing at our barracks? It's harder for us to queue up a lot now. Like I'm holding the A button to put one down whenever we have enough for a marine. But 12 is something we can kind of just barely support. Now we're at 166 supply. Let's keep making supply depots. Go back, see if we have mules, make more units. It's fine if barracks are temporarily not producing. Keep producing. So this is going to get us, each supply depot is 8. So we're going to get to 16 more than we currently have. That's 182. This will get us to 198. Let's get to 200. Let's see if we can drop a mule. We'll drop a mule. And I fell a little behind on production here. But now we're going to have all the supply depots we need. All we need are to finish producing our marines. And that'll be it. That's the whole thing. That's the drill. We're trying to max out ideally by around 8:30. But if we max out by 9 minutes, we're still doing pretty well. And again, if we're starting out, maxing out by like 12 minutes is great. We have 166 things. Let's make sure we're muling if we can. You can see we've got up to 200 max supply. We're just making sure we're producing. Every 20 seconds or so, we should be able to make about 12 marines. In-game time is a little faster than real life. It's about 1.1 second of this is 2.4 seconds of real life. Check if we have mules. We don't. Keep producing. Looks like probably won't make it by 8:30, but might by 8:40 or 50. And we're just going to keep on producing. I add my units to the hotkey 5. Good players tend to put their military on 1, 2, and 3. All right, we didn't quite make it by 8:30. I think 8:34 is my record on this. And we're there at 8:42. That's pretty good. Let's push out. I'm going to queue to one of my units. So if more units are made from our barracks, they will follow our army. And we're just going to move across the map, clicking A and clicking on the opponent's base in the menu. At this point, we have so many minerals that are going to build up, we may as well add a third base. The idea of this is to just play on 2 bases, but we're going to add a third base. We also could add more barracks. Why not increase production for if our army dies? Our army's not going to die because it's huge. A smart thing to do, another ability the orbital command has, is called scan. And we used supply drop, but scan can give us information. And if we're going up a ramp like this one, then scan. Why do we have a unit here? No, that's a fake unit. That's one of their units. Let's kill it. Scan can give you vision up the ramp. Otherwise, things will hit you and you can't hit them. Let's add our new command center to the hotkey. Make sure all our units are headed there if we make more SCVs. Drop some mules because we fell behind there. And start producing to make up for our very few losses. We should move our units up the ramp where they can finish off the opponent's main base. But again, before you go up a ramp, if this was a harder opponent, what we'd want to do is we'd want to scan here. Because your units, when they're below, cannot hit units up here until you're at their height, until you get to here. And so they're going to have free fire on you, but if you scan first, then they don't have that. An orbital command gives these 3 abilities. Mule is really good for collecting resources. We should send these guys to our new base. We should upgrade our new base to orbital. But orbital gives these 3 abilities. This is an incredible ability, call down Mule. This doubles the supply depot. So it means, okay, we won. But the X one doubles the supply depot. So it means that if, it turns a supply depot as 8 supply, it makes it 16. This should only be used in niche circumstances, but the next video will show it. And finally, scan is really good for gaining information or for going up ramps, figuring out where enemy units are. Also, if they're invisible units, it reveals them as long as the scan lasts and for quite a wide radius and gives you a way to deal with that. But that's it. This is the gameplay loop. This is, I think, a really good drill. I basically have just done this drill, tried to learn a few builds, went online in the ladder, and aside the time my game had a serious issue, I've won both games I played. Again, not a big sample and not very meaningful, but it is to say, like, if you get good at this kind of fundamental stuff, you can do work. Like, you're not playing at a complete beginner level anymore. And this is a hard game that has been out for a long time, and it's nice to quickly be able to not be terrible. And I think this is a fun and efficient way to do it. I would have liked if I could have kept my APM below 50, but a lot of the APM is you press the 2 button and you press A and all your barracks produce and you hold it, and that's a ton of actions per minute. And if you're doing that, you're going to be doing a lot of actions. You can see our army really builds up nicely and quickly. This is not like a proper build, but it is something that you can practice with and get good with, and I think have fun with, and get used to managing 4 different things. And we did a lot of things. We hotkeyed our buildings so that 1 was command centers and 2 was barracks. Good players often do 4 for command center and 5 for barracks, but you can do whatever is comfortable for you. We had constant production. We built SCVs until we were saturated and a little past. And we built as many Marines as we could. When we had spare minerals, we made more barracks so that our production would be even bigger and better and faster. If our army dies, we're just going to produce another one. And we're going to produce it really fast because we have 12 barracks. And once we grab a third base after maxing out, we're going to build even more barracks. And we're going to be able to rebuild armies really fast. And Marines come out quickly. So if your army trades for their army, your next army's coming out fast. And we're remembering to build supply depots. And so I guess... And also we learned about the shift button. We can both queue up units at a building by just pressing A multiple times. It will mean once you're done with this Marine, you'll build another Marine. But we also, when you build a supply depot, you can press shift and then click on the minerals. And when they're done, that gives them that next command of what to do. And that can be really useful of saying, after you do this and then do that, and being able to order that all at once is just a really nice feature of the game. And then the other thing is our gameplay loop, which is command center. Check, do you want to make more SCVs? And can you drop mules? Then click, so that's clicking 1 for me. Then I click 2, check the barracks. Am I producing everywhere? Make sure I'm producing as much everywhere. I don't want to queue too much here because then I will use up all my resources that I could use putting down more barracks. I think the video I watched way back in the day said because I think Marines come out a little faster than SCVs, if you queue 2 SCVs up and 3 Marines up at each place, that gives you about a minute before you have to look again, and they'll still be finishing doing that up. So that gives you a minute of game time, which is, 40-ish seconds of real time. And so that gives you a little time to go do your other things. I feel like it's probably faster than that, but something like that, if you queue up to 2 SCVs at a time and up to 3 Marines at a time, you'll be doing pretty well. The lower you can get it while remembering to keep producing, the better. Once you're done with that, make sure that supply is being built if needed. If you're at, 30 out of 70 supply, you probably don't need more supply depots immediately. But if you're at 50 out of 60, you're probably going to make 12 units pretty soon. The supply depots take a little while to build. Would be worth getting started on 1 or even 2 immediately. And lastly, if we have spare minerals before restarting the cycle, we're going to make more production buildings so we can produce more. If we don't have very many production buildings, our minerals are going to build up. We won't be able to buy that much stuff at once, and we're just not going to be very efficient at making an army. This would have taken forever to max out if we had 1 barracks producing. We had 12 barracks producing. I think that's it. I enjoy this drill. If you want to try this, please do. StarCraft 2 is free and fun and good. Go play it. I think that's all I got for you today.